Good evening, hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. In a hugely controversial move, the Karnataka government's decision to allow Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or RSS to hold training camps on the premises of state-run residential schools has created a political storm. While the move is backed by the recommendation of Kota Srinivasa Pujari, who is the Minister for Social Welfare. This has been allowed, as I said, at the state-run education institutes in about 2 districts, 2 schools broadly speaking. The move, primarily speaking, raises serious questions about the secular nature of government schools. That's what the law of the land says. While the government resisted, and rightly so, perhaps according to the view of the Karnataka High Court, hijab at the government-run institutions and schools, why should RSS be allowed to hold such camps at the state-run institutions? Our top focus tonight.
It is the duty of the government to see that all the educational institutions and other government offices has to be run as per secular credentials.
ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳನ್ನು RSS ಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿಯಾದಂತ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ತೀವ್ರವಾಗಿ ವಿರೋಧ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಈ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಆದೇಶವನ್ನು ವಾಪಸ್ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಂಡು
While RSS camps in state-run institutes, is this another attempt towards saffronization? That's the key question that various people are asking, that if the secular nature of educational institutions in this country is to be maintained, can RSS be allowed to hold such camps? And the key question is this the first attempt or first move of this kind? In the recent past, we have seen various such controversies dominating the politics of Karnataka. And I'm talking specifically about the educational syllabus, schools, campuses. We have seen a lot of polarizing controversy around this. Let's take you through some key instances that we have seen in the past. Well, if you look at the recent history, in March 2022, there was a demand for hijab ban in schools. It was said by the Karnataka High Court that if the school curriculum does not permit, it cannot be allowed. It is not a part of the dress code. It is not an essential religious practice. BJP MLA also had demanded ban on madrasas. It has said that the MLA had said that there should be only one system of education, not multiple. In May 2022, you also had the icon, the right-wing icon, Mr. Hedgewar's speech included in class 10 textbooks. Syllabus has been a huge issue. Multiple things have been included in syllabus, including the likes of Vedic maths, which has raised a lot of controversy. Tipu Sultan was removed from class 7 chapters, and this is not just about the so-called saffronization. This is a contested history that dominates the politics of Karnataka. Chapters on Savarkar were added in class 8 textbooks. This, of course, is something that the Congress party, the JDS, had taken a strong exception to. They had said that it should not be allowed. And as I said, Vedic math to be taught to SC/ST students and to most of the students. It was actually a particular sum of money, a grant that was used to furthering the cause of Vedic maths. Bhagavad Gita to be part of the school curriculum. It had to be included in the moral science syllabus. That was another move that was taken by the Karnataka government. There were recommendations to that effect and they were implemented. So these are the multiple controversies that we have seen in the recent past. RSS training camps, the latest one to be allowed in 2 state government schools, and these are residential schools where these training camps are going to be allowed. It is being argued that this is a move of some kind to instill nationalism, discipline or yoga in these institutes and classes. Let me cut across to my colleague Harish, who is with us on the broadcast, getting us more details on this entire story. Harish, help us understand, how does the government justify this move? RSS, with all its credentials, is a Hindu organization. It talks about, furthering the cause of many other communities in this country, but it has very strong majoritarian credentials. On what grounds has the government taken this decision, even if it is just about 2 districts or 2 schools?
Well, the decision seems to have been made after a letter by the Minister, Social Welfare Minister, Mr. Pujari, and then what we do understand is that after this letter was written is when this permission came in. Now there are two questions here. One, on whether this entire decision has the backing of the whole government. Second, why is it that the government is giving out government infrastructure to RSS, which is once again, as you rightly mentioned, is an organization that has a certain ideology which is being opposed by a large section of the society. The third question that many are asking is, if the government then has a policy to give out government schools or government infrastructure to institutions or organizations, then it could open up a Pandora's box. You will have people or organizations coming in from various other quarters of the society demanding the same. Will the government then accept it? In fact, the JDS just a while ago said, if tomorrow an Islamic organization comes in and says that they want to have a certain training, then would the government be open to the idea of giving out government infrastructure or government schools to such organizations? Will the BJP accept it is what they're asking. They're also saying that the fact that this is being allowed without much deliberation, either with the parents, the students, or even the school management committee, indicates that this is being done arbitrarily by a few ministers in this particular government, and the opposition also not taken into consideration. They're also saying it's a larger plan of saffronization. They're saying it started with saffronization of textbooks and syllabus. It started with leaving out certain contents that this government believed was not good for students, which also had the writings of some of the writers who are largely seen as leftist or liberal. And as you rightly mentioned, just a few weeks back, we had this incident of the government giving money from the SEST sub-plan to Vedic maths teaching to students. Once again, that also in a very arbitrary manner, no consultation either with the experts or with the parents or students. And series of such actions now is coming under criticism and gives more opportunity for the Congress to say that this is a wider plan, this is a plan of the RSS, and the government is just implementing it. And now as well, they are saying that this is one of the prime reasons for the government to go ahead and give this institution or two institutions for RSS training without any deliberation. And
Harish,
it's being done
there
because
are 2 points I want to discuss
saying
with you very
that
specifically.
if it's not stopped now, it could go much farther with several other camps as well. And they're also saying what is being taught here and why is it that, once again, remember, Moraji Desai schools are for SCST students.
That's right.
And why is it that a certain community is now being targeted, their infrastructure, their funding being utilized to appropriate or further the cause of RSS?
All right, Harish, 2 points that I want to discuss with you. There's a pattern. The pattern is that when you allow Vedic maths in 2 schools or in 2 districts or 3 districts, or you allow RSS to conduct camps in 2 districts, as you said, these are very piecemeal attempts or decisions being taken without any kind of broader consultation. So at a policy level, the government maintains a plausible deniability that these are experiments. We're just seeing how it really goes. But on the other side, the politics of it creates a completely different kind of a discourse. And somewhere in the run-up to the elections, this discourse is setting the tempo of Karnataka politics.
Absolutely, and it's been on an overdrive over the last year or so. It started with revision of textbooks. It's gone to a level where we've had a huge controversy around Ganesh Chaturthi pandals having Savarkar's photo there, and then BJP leaders coming out and saying what's wrong with this. We've also had questions on what is taught in the syllabus, Vedic math class being introduced without any sort of a demand from anyone, once again being funded by the SCST sub-plan. And just even as we are discussing about reservation for SCST candidates and who will take credit for it, now you have this particular order of the government coming under severe criticism. In fact, the Student Federation of India, one of the student organization, has come out and said, well, we just see it as a larger plan being implemented. How can the government justify this? If tomorrow the SFI demands that they want to have some sort of a camp, will the government be open to the idea of giving out buildings especially government schools. We've seen playgrounds being given out to private institutions, but never before, they say, has the government given the whole school infrastructure for an organization that has a certain religious ideology.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harish, for getting us all the details and your perspective to this entire story. I open this question to our guest as well. Mr. Ratan Sharda, who's a researcher and RSS researcher and author, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. B.S. Arun, who's a senior journalist, is also with us on the broadcast. Professor Chambi Puranik, who is also with us on the show. He's an academician. And Ashpreet Singh Kadial, who's a spokesperson of the Congress Party, is also joining us. Mr. Ratan Sharda, I'm coming to you first. This is a subject that you research upon. This is an ideology you know best. Do you think that at secular schools run by the state, RSS should be allowed to hold camps of this nature?
First of all, I must congratulate a journalist who has been highly fired up by the secular talk. His entire reporting was so much biased that I was amused and smiling all the way. Now, let us set 3-4 major points. One is RSS taking over the school? It is taking some part on rental for its own tailing program. Is it asking the school to change the dress? Is it asking school to follow its syllabus? Is it asking school to do the training for the students? None of it. They are just taking some premise on rental or on any kind of basis to train their people. It has been happening for last 90 years because RSS training camps held once a year across India in hundreds of places. They hire halls, they hire schools, they hire any premise that will house certain number of people. So what is wrong in that? I do not know. So where does the hijab and all this stupidity come? I do not know what kind of comparison this is. Okay. Secondly, talk about Vedic maths. Do you know that Vedic maths is internationally accepted as one of the best training of mind for mathematical calculations? Just because the knowledge comes from Hindu dharma, should you throw it away in the name of communalism or secularism? I see this blind hate for Hindu knowledge system is actually very heartbreaking. On what ground are you saying Vedic mathematics is bad? Okay. Tipu Sultan was never a hero of Karnataka. He was made a hero of Karnataka by a novel written by Bhagwan Gidwani way back in 70-80 called Sword of Sultan. Tipu Sultan, before there was never a hero. So when I say that he cannot be a hero who has killed thousands of Hindus and Christians, what is the problem with that? Bringing this together, you are saying that will you allow Islamics and Islamic people to have the organization if they are like PFN naturally? Is RSS not a legal organization? Has RSS ever crossed legal limits? Has RSS disobeyed constitution? Has RSS sent people to Syria or Arabia or any part of the country, the nation for throwing bombs or killing people or recruiting women for sexual comfort of terrorists? No. So where is the comparison?
Okay, Mr. Ratan Sharda,
doing above board training for people to create nationalist patriotic citizens.
Okay, you made some points and I noted down all those points. Finish your point, sir.
I am very upset with the kind of reporting you are doing. Do you know that the same training is used for disaster management, for serving people, for controlling traffic during war times? You don't know.
All right.
You are simply
Sir. I think no. Mr. Ratan Sharda, I have a lot of respect for you and the kind of research you do or the ideology you come from. I have a personal regard for you. But that being said, I think you're being thoroughly unfair by terming the entire reporting or the manner in which we are framing the debate as biased. Now, let me let me respond to you point by point. What my colleague Harish was reporting is essentially the politics which is playing out in the state of Karnataka. As a journalist, I think he was doing his job. I agree with you that one cannot draw some kind of parallels between a PFI and an RSS. I think these are two very different organizations, and PFI is allegedly under scanner, has been banned by the government of India for terror activities. So I'm not treading into that debate. Coming to the Vedic math, hijab, these are the 2 points that you made. I think if there is any knowledge that comes from our ancient texts or our Sanatan culture, there should be a proper research about it. It should be updated according to modern times. And so let me finish. I let you make your point. You would have to allow me to make my points. And then it should be implemented as a larger policy in the state. If Vedic math is good for the student of the state of Karnataka, why there was no wider consultation done and the policy implemented across? The second point you made about hijab. Hijab was not just about covering your head or tweaking the school uniform. It was about a religious expression. And RSS does denote a religious identity. That's what everybody has an exception to. That you might be an organization doing great work for the cause of the community, for the cause of the nation, but you have a religious identity. We cannot allow you in state-run education institutes. Mr. Ratan Sharda, please go ahead.
First of all, what do you mean by wider consultation? Is government not authorized by the voters, which has a majority to take decisions? If you think that, do you know Vedic mathematics is discussed across the world? Are you aware of this?
Yes, I'm aware. Bhagavad Gita is researched in dozens and dozens of countries. It has been translated into multiple languages, incling Russian.
Exactly. So
The Germans and Russians are researching about it. So I don't think there is any bias for Indic knowledge and Indic faith. I am not going to take that. I'm not going to take that allegation. Okay.
You allow me to complete my point. Tomorrow you will say, because maths come from Hindu rishis of long time, calculus, trigonometry, and various astronomical calculations come from Hindu rishis.
No, one thing is there, Mr. Ratan Sharda, and this is my request to you as a fair debater. You would have to let go of this point. You would have to let go of this point that just because something is coming from Hinduism, people are criticizing it. Nobody is doing that here. Nobody is doing that here. Nobody is criticizing anything only because it comes from Hindu religion or our Sanatani practices. I don't think that's the argument that is anybody. When did I say that?
That's what opposition is saying.
Opposition is saying. Then you are making an argument. Let me bring in Arshpreet Singh Kardial into the discussion and debate as well. Arshpreet, when you talk about an organization like RSS holding these camps, the argument of the likes of Mr. Ratan Sharda and many other people is that don't compare it to a PFI. These are organizations which are working for the benefit of the nation and they are going to do their work. They are only training students. What is the big controversy about it? Arshpreet.
Well, the controversy is first it was textbooks, then it was syllabus, then it was history, now it's this. So, where does the buck stop? We don't understand why does, everything has to be politicized. Why do you not understand that India is a secular state? We have a preamble, for God's sake, which says, we the people of India, socialist, sovereign, secular, democratic republic. Please read that. And number two, how can the RSS intrude into schools? And it's not a single incident that has happened. It also happened in Coimbatore, in Tamil Nadu, wherein, the Express Chennai, it uploaded videos also on their official Twitter page, wherein it can clearly be seen that they were being given training. And when the RSS had to respond to that, they said, no, we were just cleaning. When the video clearly showcases there was training taking place, a show cause notice has been sent, and the RSS is denying it. However, with regards to the Karnataka thing, SFI has already said that we are going to be protesting, and the state secretary, Mr. Vishwa Reddy, he said this is not just about normal schools. As a matter of fact, the residential schools which are specially catering to SC, ST and OBC students, there it is happening as a case. So therefore, we ask the government, what is happening there? There's a rule of law, we have a constitution. It is not just wrong in the first place, it's also illegal. There is no provision that allows this. And number two, the parents of all these students, of all these kids, they're having a hard time. They're protesting. They're calling the RSS out, and they're questioning the school authorities as well. They're questioning the government, but to no avail. So therefore, I think it is very important for the media to call the organizations out, because nobody is above the law of the land. They have to follow the law, or else I really feel that there should be some action.
No, Arshpreet, I take your point about the educational policy, and there is a law of the land. Preamble, Part 3 of the Indian Constitution defines how we should be run. Those are the broader tenets of the Indian Constitution which are there and everybody to follow. And if the government thinks there is a change in the education policy which is demanded, they should make the changes at a policy level, not the piecemeal approach that the government is taking. But there's another allegation, Arshpreet, against the Congress party and the opposition that Mr. Ratan Sharda was talking about, that you have an allergy to anything which comes from the Indic or the Sanatani tradition. You start criticizing it just because it's Vedic maths.
I think it is ludicrous what he's saying. It's absurd. There is no such thing at all. We are only concerned with, the nature of the constitution, what the law of the land says. And if politicization were to happen to everything, even the schools, the colleges, the universities, the kids, imagine what will it do? It would wreak a havoc in the society. These small kids, they are of a very tender age. They have to be given information and they have to be, educated. And we cannot allow any organization to intrude into it. Like the law of the land.
Professor Chambi Puranik, I want you to come into the discussion. Professor Chambi Puranik, I want you to come into the discussion as an academician. How do you see the move of the government? And more importantly, I assert this, that if the government thinks that our model of education or the education policy needs changes, we need to be more indigenous or rooted in the way and manner we learn, they should make changes at the policy level, not in the manner which is happening in the state of Karnataka.
Anusha, I fully respect Mr. Shah's
Mr. Ratan
defense
Sharda.
of the role of RSS and the activities that it is doing. Truly, it is Indira Gandhi and Pranab Mukherjee and many others, recently Mohan Bhagwat, all of them have, come together to bring an inclusive growth of society. But as far as the education policy is concerned, I think in 1988 or so, the Government of India, Ministry of Home Affairs has issued a circular saying that no religious activities should be undertaken in the government school premises or state-run institutions, etc. Now, in this present case, it is a government-run institution, and there is a kind of Lakshman Rekha which the government should not cross, because earlier Congress government's appeasement policy and the present BJP government's policy of entering into the premises of the schools or through textbooks and other ideas, all that, is a kind of part of the competitive politics or the vote bank politics, etc. So let us be very clear about it. Let us not have any apprehensions about it. So that means to say, recently, the idea of new India, in India, including the kind of fresh ideas, insights, progressive thinking or scientific temper, and all these things have to be on the forefront, right? And also the Constitution of India, the preamble of India. And some of these things are more important than entering into either indirectly or through some kind of piecemeal approach, etc. So therefore, I think the present BJP government in Karnataka, in its enthusiasm to spread its whatever impact or influence, a series of incidents which Harish and you have reported, they are also part of the political agenda. There is no doubt about it. But the bigger agenda is to inculcate new values in the minds of our young children, and that too schools and all that. It is okay if you give it for NSS camp, NCC camp, and many other government institutions, many other government-run, whatever these paramilitary organizations or discipline-oriented organizations, etc. But so far, this particular thing, holding RSS camps in a state-run institution or state-funded institution, I think it's the first of its kind. Definitely, Student Federation of India and many others, they were waiting for some or the other point to create some kind of conclusion and all that. That is there. So that means to say,
well, sir, my
argument
is only the educational policy and the constitution of the country. If they don't allow that, no organization with any kind of religious backing or credentials should be allowed at state-run educational institutes, be it any organization of this country. I'm not even going to the debate of Muslim organization or a Hindu organization. I also want Mr. B.S. Arun to come into this debate. And sir, as Professor Puranik pointed out, that education has remained a politically contested territory. Earlier, it was the appeasement politics of the Congress party that was criticized. Today is a different brand of politics, but each kind of its politics has affected the educational sector, the campuses, the schools, the textbooks and syllabuses.
Yes, over the last few months, Karnataka has become a very fertile ground, as much as a laboratory for several experiments by various organizations. Over the last few months, from March onwards, it had been hijab, and political parties made full use of that. The state government, the Karnataka High Court, has upheld the hijab wearing decision. They are against it, and now it has been contested in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is likely to give a decision likely this week. Now, having said that, my view also has been that the educational institutions premises used only for educational issues, not for anything that's outside it. And those programs which are permitted by that particular school or by the government's education department. Other than this, nothing else should be permitted in the school premises because they are not meant for that. As
what is the political messaging, Mr. B.S. Arun, that the BJP is trying to send in here? If you were to simply put it.
In Karnataka, the assembly elections are just about 6-7 months away, and one by one, perhaps the BJP ruled, the BJP government might be trying its hand to, just test the waters as to what happens if we do this. What happens if we don't do this? That kind of a thing they must be.
Mr. Ratan Sharda, I'm coming back to you, and I will take in all the points that B.S. Arun, Professor Chambi Puranik and Ashpreet have raised. My first point, if the Constitution says that state-run institutes need to be secular in nature, Why allow any organization? I'm not even going to a PFI or a Muslim organization or anything. RSS is an organization which works for the cause of Hindu community in this country. Great work, but perhaps school is not their place.
First of all, RSS is not a religious organization, it is a socio-cultural organization.
Yes.
And it works for Hindus as a geographical cultural entity, not for Hindu as religions, as you understand.
Right.
It never has no program of religious programs in its training camps. That is personal. Please go ahead, and I would ask all the good professors and writers to go visit the camp where it is happening. And you think before the Karnataka government gave this particular school, RSS never had a training program? RSS is having training program, as I told you, for last 97 years.
Sir, or ye training programs we see in the parks, we see in different areas. RSS shakas and training programs are very common. You're right about that. The argument is it should not happen in state-run education institutes.
Let me complete.
Please go ahead, sir.
Is RSS working during the school hours? Is it a program for the school student because it's holding the program there? It is the building, it is the ground that it is using. It is not using your students, your principals or teachers. Please understand. Any building which is available for hire or for use to any social organization should be available to RSS also. Why you should say that no, the building should not be used? Every state, wherever you get school building, college buildings are used for various social cultural organizations for use of its property, for better use of assets. What is wrong in that? And is it an illegal activity? No. Tomorrow you give to any legal entity, there is no problem. Why you should not? Why you should not use the assets for better purposes?
Because you open a Pandora's box. Today it's one organization. Tomorrow there would be other organization which is a socio-cultural organization, and they would say we are not doing any religious work. Allow us within the school campuses and buildings.
Why
it's
not?
the state property.
Unless giving illegal activity, do allow them. Unless PFI says that I'm going to train people to kill, to say that you are supremacist, no other religion or no other follower has a right to exist, you must support caliphate, etc. It's fine. Why not?
Well, sir, then let me put it to you, and I'm sure you will not like this argument, that a similar argument was put during the hijab debate, that if I'm wearing a school uniform and I'm putting a scarf over it, what is your problem? Sir, the problem is religious expression, na? The problem is religious expression.
My dear friend, is RSS forcing his uniform on others? Where does hijab come in? What kind of illogical debate for the first time hearing? You are comparing a hijab in uniform controversy to RSS. Training camp. Is RSS forcing his uniform on others?
Can I justify
you will not wear your uniform when you go to schools? No. It's very, very superficial debate you are doing.
I don't think, no sir, I don't think it's superficial, because I understand the meaning of secular in Indian constitution. That we will have all kinds of religious practices, that we are a country accommodative of our... But sir, it is a part of our constitution now, we'll have to accept it.
Into constitution 1976.
And then it was affirmed by the Supreme Court of India that secularism is a basic tenet of Indian constitution.
Secularism does not mean non-religious.
I am not saying it does mean that.
Secularism which says you are non-religious. In India, secular means respect for all religions.
Okay, sir, respond to my second point, sir. Sir, second point. Is this
India
legal?
Cannot live without religion. That is the truth.
I agree. That's the soul of this country.
Swami Vivekananda. Read Swami Vivekananda.
I have read Swami Vivekananda with all due respect, but I'm asking you, is this legal?
Does he say that, what has he said? He said Indians are religious by nature. It's in their blood. So we cannot become non-religious.
I'm going to give the last word. I'm going to give the last word to Ashpreet Singh Kadial.
We can give respect to all.
Ashpreet, the argument that Ratan Sharda and BJP are making is that this is a socio-cultural activity. And if the building is available to anybody, then why not to RSS? Why are you making a big deal about it? We are not polarizing. You are polarizing.
One, the gentleman said that the government is empowered to do so.
Yeah.
If there is any official notification, any official amendment, any official gazette, I think, they should show it, because the RSS itself is making a U-turn. And number two, he said that, it's just a building, anyone can use it. No, it's not just a building. It's the building of a state-run government school. It does not belong to you. And if the government does not take any action, there are courts.
Anybody can take it on hire. Why not? Why can't any legal organization take it on hire?
We will make sure that this is called out. We will make sure that this is called out. And number two, RSS itself cannot take a stand. RSS is denying.
Well, we only hope that there is a consistent education policy which is pursued by the government of Karnataka in line with the ethos of Indian constitution, which is the secular nature. Secular doesn't mean without any religion, but yes, there is a line that policy and law has drawn in this country. With that, it's a wrap. I thank all my guests. Shivani joins you on the other side.